benefits of using oil lamps when the power goes out and running them with a kerosene heater. A lot of times I use them when electric bill kind of gets a little high. You can use them also. The benefits of using a oil lamp with a kerosene heater is if you're running them both together, you will get a more evenly heated home or workshop. If you place the lamps throughout and you got multiple lamps and say they're sold out of kerosene heaters and you've only got one and you need to heat a larger space, you can do this with oil lamps. This will save you from having to buy a kerosene heater, or if you don't have access to another one, say they're sold out or something, you've only got one kerosene heater and you're needing to heat a larger space, you can simply do this with a oil lamp. Just buy up a bunch of oil lamps. Generally it's cheaper to buy a new oil lamp, usually Walmart. A lot of stores in the wintertime will sell oil lamps. Lanterns will also work if you have access to lanterns. Another thing is these old lamps, if you have them and they're in working condition, they're perfectly fine to use. But now some of these lamps, if you get too far back in time on some of these lamps are not made to burn kerosene. Some of them's made to burn animal fats, seed oils, and thicker oil like whale oil. And the burners will be made generally different, so they will heat up to a higher temperature to melt the oils and the fats and the greases and stuff that they used to burn before kerosene. So if you have one, just check it and make sure your style burner will operate with kerosene, because sometimes these will get really hot. Kerosene burns a little bit warmer than animal fats or seed oils. So, if you have a lamp that dates 30s, 40s, then usually it's a kerosene lamp. If you got a lamp that dates, between 1909 to 1890 on back, it's usually seed oils or animal fats. This one's probably around the 1920s or 1930s, so we know it's kerosene. The style of burner will be different. The wicks will be smaller usually. They did have larger lamp wicks, but they were less common. The most common ones were smaller wicks, but generally you can buy a modern lamp at Walmart for around $14. You've already got the lamp shade, the wick, the burner. It's fully built. You don't have to worry with it. So usually you can pick up modern new lamps. You can buy a whole bunch of them pretty cheap. An older lamp's going to cost you more, and you're going to have to build them, and they're kind of hard to find parts for, and burners and chimneys are expensive. So you can generally buy a modern reproduction lamp and use it for a lot cheaper. You can buy a full lamp for what it costs you just for a lamp shade on an old one. So a lot of people generally just uses them. I actually have a few old ones that I've restored, but I also use them. But this is the more expensive way of going at it if you're using old lamps. Another thing is with old lamps, the glass is not tempered like modern glass, so if you're using a new lamp, the glass is going to be more tempered. It's going to be more like a beer bottle. It's going to be more crack resistant. It's going to have more durabilities in the glass. The old glass is fragile. It's got air bubbles and stuff in it, so if you accidentally bang it or tip it over or something, usually they'll break or bust. The shades are usually very thin, so if you're looking at purchasing a kerosene lamp, it's generally cheaper to go with a modern reproduction. They burn pretty much the same as an old one. Some of these old ones uses odd size wicks, and they can be hard to source wicks for. But if you're looking to heat your shop or your home or whatever more efficiently, you can generally get you about 4 or 5 lamps. Most of the modern reproduction ones has a number 2 burner and wick in them. Some of them will have smaller wicks, but most of them has a number 2. The larger the wick you have, the more heat you will produce and the more light you'll make. So if you find a modern reproduction lamp, you can buy them up, and they're easier to find wicks for because they're reproduction, and most wicks are reproduction too. So you'll have an easier time finding wicks. You'll have an easier time purchasing them. They won't be near as expensive. An old lamp, you generally have to buy one and you'll have to repurpose it. You could give $30-40 just for a base, $20 or $30 for a burner, and you're looking at another $20 or $30 for a shade. Then finding the right wick, you're looking at another $10 or so. So you're looking at quite a bit of money trying to rebuild these old lamps. These old lamps has got so expensive, most people don't fool with them anymore, because you can buy a modern lamp for like 14 bucks, and that's the shade, the burner, the base. Most modern lamps is just pretty much the same as an old lamp. I mean, there's just a small changes in the burners and stuff, but it's not enough change to really change the outcome of the lamp. So these lamps has really got expensive, and a lot of people's stopped rebuilding these old lamps, and you can buy a lot of modern reproduction lamps already done, already fixed, brand new, for what one of these lampshades cost. You can buy a whole modern lamp for. So it's generally that's the easiest way to go about lamps. If you place them throughout, they generally give off quite a bit of heat. You can feel it in the top. And if you're running these for a couple of hours, you run them with a kerosene heater, you will get quite a bit of heat, and it'll evenly heat the spaces that's colder than normal by just simply putting an oil lamp there. And this is one way if you don't have a extra kerosene heater, or if they're sold out of kerosene heaters and you're just trying to run off of one kerosene heater and it's not producing enough heat, you can actually burn a few of these lamps. The new ones will put out just as much heat as the old ones, but you can even them out, space them out, and you can evenly space the heat distributed throughout, and it'll warm the rooms a lot faster than if you're just running a kerosene heater by itself. So if it's really cold and you have no power at all, you have no source of heat, you can pick you up a few modern kerosene lamps. Walmart usually has them. You can find them at other places. Sometimes hardware stores will carry them. Usually lamp stores will carry them. It sells different kinds of lighting. But you can use old ones if you have them, and you have them available and they're in working condition. But the cheapest route would be just picking up modern ones. because they'll come fully equipped with the wick, the base, the burner, and the chimney for what it'll cost for just a chimney for an old lamp. So that's the quickest way of doing it. But that's the trick to heating. If you're trying to heat more space and you don't have more heaters, and you can use the same kerosene or your kerosene heater in your lamps. And 3 or 4 lamps will put off the same amount of heat as a kerosene heater. You'll have, if you're running a number 2 burner, about 3 or 4, maybe 5 will put out almost the same amount of heat as one of these large kerosene heaters. So you're pretty much giving off the same heat. You're just distributing it with a smaller burner and a smaller flame. You're just distributing it throughout. And that's the quickest way to heat without using extra kerosene heater if you're just running one. A lot of times these lamps are actually more efficient than a kerosene heater because you can space them throughout, and they're just usually around $14. Sometimes you can find them cheaper than that. A lot of times you can find them in flea markets and knick-knack stores and places used. It's lightly used. Sometimes you can find them as low as, I've seen them as low as $1, $2, full lamp. They're just a modern reproduction lamp that somebody's set on a mantle or something, not had much use. A lot of times they'll sell them flea markets and places anywhere from $1 to $10, but you generally pick them up at Walmart for $14, $15. You generally want to look for one with a larger tank if you're using them for heat purpose. Some of them will have a smaller tank, but if you can find them with a larger tank, some of them will have larger tanks. But that's generally how you look for a lamp. The modern ones is a whole lot cheaper. If you have junk stores, places that sell them used, you can generally get them really cheap. But that's the trick to heating, using kerosene and not having to buy extra heaters. I know in middle of snowstorms or power outages and stuff, they will charge you a lot of money for a kerosene heater. Generally charge you a lot more money for a kerosene heater just because of the moment and the panic. So a lot of times you can use just a regular kerosene lamp. If you have enough of them, buy enough of them, you can use them to heat with. And that's the trick to it.